2024 has been the worst year of my life, but thankfully I've seen a lot of movies to help me through all the mess. So today I want to talk about my personal top 20 that have stuck with me like glue through it all. I do want to say that some of these might be considered 2023, but some they come under 2024 where I am based, so yeah. A few that didn't make the list but I want to mention are Evil Do Not Exist, Longlegs, We Grown Now, Dee Dee, and Strange Darling. Okay, now let's get on to the list. Furiosa is the Top Gun Maverick of 2024, and I mean it in the best of ways. It lit a fire under my ass for the whole thing, especially when it comes to the adrenaline that courses through the whole thing. Not to mention the revenge tale similar to Homer's Odyssey. Amazing film. Intimate cinema is the kind of which I appreciate the most, and All Dirt Roads Taste of Salt is the most intimate. The way Raven Jackson shoots hands shows how tender the film can get. 90 minutes of pure comfort that had me in tears all the way through in the nicest way possible. Koreeda's Monster is a beast. It takes serious subject matter such as childhood love and loss and decides to make a thriller out of it all, which seems so whimsical somehow. Beautiful stuff from one of the best directors working today. Hayao Miyazaki needs to make movies forever if they are of the same quality of his newest film, The Boy and the Heron. The whimsical nature of all of his films is packed into one tight 2-hour package that happened to leave me speechless. I never expected to put Wicked this high on the list, but here we are. Wicked is the most fun I've had in a theatre in a long time. I've never seen the show, but I feel like I've adopted a newfound appreciation for it after this. A beautiful experience from beginning to end. Sometimes I feel about dying is relatable on a painful level. Daisy Ridley's stark and cold performance reminds me of myself in the ways that I communicate with those around me. A shiveringly cold film that has stayed with my mind ever since I saw it. Zia Anger's first film, My First Film, takes the experimental aspects of Terrence Malick films such as Tree of Life and then combines it with the narrative ideas we are used to in traditional cinema. It's also a very accurate depiction of attempting to create art with the inspiration you have, but not sure how to carry on with it, something we've all dealt with in some way. I just love how Zia Anger can glide through these themes so effortlessly. One of the best films I can think about right now. Another beast, and it happens to be a very long beast at that. The Beast is a sci-fi satire that takes a left turn that I would never have expected. It's a very long and slow turn, but one of which is necessary to dive into, especially in current year where the uncertainty of the future as a whole is being questioned. It's not remotely subtle, but that's what makes this as powerful as it is. Greg Quedar's Sing Sing makes something positive out of a negative, that being the prison system and how it treats its captives. Colman Domingo deserves that Oscar. The 16mm film stock is beautiful to see on the big screen in current day. There's so much to love about Sing Sing that it almost hurts. Alice Rohrwacher's La Chimera is a deep exploration of the human condition and how we as humans stomach grief. Josh O'Connor is one of those actors who makes the most out of a bad situation. Here he does absolutely everything he can with the saddest of stories. Seeing an Italian stance of the subject took me by surprise, especially in the way Rohrwacher decides to adapt such things in an almost slapstick turn. Beautifully bleak in all the right ways. Okay, now let's get into the top 10. Perfect Days is directed by Wim Wenders and follows Hiroyama as he goes through his life cleaning toilets and meeting people in modern Japan. Starting the top 10 with a film this mundane is something wild, as the mundanity of it all shines brighter than anything bright and flash. Seeing a man discover his surroundings by silently lingering gives me a lump in my throat as someone who wants to be more aware of his surroundings. Perfect Days is a perfectly quiet and profound experience that I am eternally grateful for. The longest title of the year award goes to a film that happens to be one of the shortest on this list. Humanist vampire seeking consenting suicidal person follows a vampire named Sasha who is asked by her parents to find someone to feed on, but when she disagrees with it, she looks for someone who is sad enough to consume, in basic terms. As someone who has dealt with similar tendencies to Paul, the boy she finds, I feel a lot of pain watching this, but also a lot of joy in a strange way. Another dark comedy that is actually funny while also being extremely deep, plus it features possibly my favourite scene of the year involving a record player. Yes, a record player. The Substance is a wild ride. Very wild ride. You already know about this, so I'm not going to bother explaining this one. What makes this stand out for me is the fact that it borrows from other films rather than steals the shot entirely. I look at the Lost Highway reference and instantly smile. There's a reason why Coralie Fajar is one of the greatest auteurs we have working today, not to mention that the edit is just so airtight and also quite funny too. It's hard to believe in a film as dark as this in terms of tone. Lots of colour with a bleak tone isn't a common thing, but I love to see it. Thanks Coralie for keeping me up at night. I appreciate it. All of Us Strangers follows Adam, a lonely writer who looks back on the past by literally meeting his parents the way he remembers them. I can't tell you the first thing that comes to mind when I think about All of Us Strangers because there are so many things. As someone who is going through the grievance process, everything that Adam does leaves me in a state of despair because it's unbelievably genuine. Certain lines remind me of something you find on Pinterest, but that's somehow a compliment and I don't know how. So much pain with such little time and such gravitas. Challengers follows a tennis player who is in a competition to win the affection of two other tennis players in the greatest match of them all. Tennis is often a back and forth game as it is, so love being seen as a match itself is a crazy thought for someone like Guadagnino to show. This wouldn't work as well if it wasn't for a performance by Zendaya, which puts her at the top of the list in terms of young actors working today. Her aura points shot up for sure. An incredible score is the backdrop for something so tense, one of the best achievements of the decade thus far. The Zone of Interest is about a family who live outside of a concentration camp and how they react to the atrocities living next door. The venality of evil being questioned with these methods puts Jonathan Glazer in the conversation with best directors out there. It also puts light on historic atrocities by creating a scenario in our heads that we all need to understand and process. A strong case for the power of silence, and what we can't see can sometimes be the worst things we can hear. Truly devastating with some shots that are etched into my brain. Jane Schoenbrun's I Saw the TV Glow is one of the most important films of the decade so far, as it follows a lonely kid who is deeply attached to a TV show after a girl goes missing who he once knew. The lo-fi style of a previous film We're All Going to the World's Fair is present, but not as pronounced as it was there, which sounds like a negative, but it really isn't. It allows for a genuinely heartbreaking depiction of the trans experience and how said experience affects the youth of today, not to mention that it glides through the idea of influence with such precision, with scenes that burn its way into my mind. A beautifully terrifying gem that needs to be seen to be believed. Daughters is a documentary that follows the first ever daddy-daughter dance for the incarcerated and how it influences the prisoners to turn their life around. I'm not incarcerated obviously, but I almost feel like I was watching this. I feel like I was letting go after said first dance happened. Like, what a feeling, what a feeling. I can't say too much about it except for that this does such good for those who are locked inside, as it gives them a reason to turn their life around. Seeing their kids grow up around them is an important bonding exercise. I was in a puddle of tears after watching this, and that's why it's my number 3 of the year. You already know it. Dune Part 2 is the sequel to Dune and follows Paul Atreides as he ascends to power through the means of the Fremen. Denis Villeneuve somehow tops himself every time he makes a film with its scale. No one is working on the same level as he is, except for maybe Nolan. His maximalist way of thinking comes across as the most exuberant form, not giving us even a moment to breathe because of the pure scale. The Lost Prophet story is perfect for Denis to tell, as he has been doing similar things for his whole career. Even though this is only the beginning of what's to come, it feels as complete with honor and vigor that needs to be studied. A top contender for film of the decade is a huge epic story of redemption and prophecy that almost had me welling up in its final moments. A true masterpiece. Sean Baker's Honora follows Annie, a stripper at a club who meets the son of a Russian oligarch, and what happens after they get married. Sean Baker taking on the subject of sex work with each project seems like it should become stale, but it actually proves to be the opposite. Honora being his best film about the subject, and maybe of his entire filmography, stunningly tense and witty with what it's saying, Baker doesn't leave a single stone unturned, leaving us with more answers than we ever thought we'd come out with. This wouldn't work as well without a performance by Mikey Madison that should win gold statues all across the board, Same with the supporting performances that have been hysterics and almost goosebumps. There aren't a lot of films like Anora anymore. I wish there was, because this is a true American tale with some of the best writing to come out of the industry in years. Thank God Baker is finally getting his flowers, because he understands what America wants and what it is. And that's why Anora is my film of the year. Thank you guys for watching this video, and thank you for an incredible year on the channel. I won't be able to do this without all of your guys' support. Look forward to seeing you guys very, very soon. Take care.